Hey, Jareth, how's it going? All right. Before we move on, hold on a second. Hey, what's up? Let me set this up correctly. Okay. Uh, you guys got to give me a few minutes. I want to see if we can get more people in before I start any discussion. I'm also doing a couple of things. If you guys don't mind, just hanging out and waiting a little bit. So, yeah, we're gonna wait a little bit before we start. So while we wait, all right, I'll be back in a couple of minutes. second. Get over here. Got my pop-up window. All right, guys. I'm sure more people will join, so we could get the discussion started. You guys can hear me okay? Let me know if you can hear me. In the meantime, I'll. What's up, Rhino? Joshua, loud and clear. Okay, very good. So, I'm doing good. Hope everybody's well. Before I get to what I'm sure everybody's going to have something to say about the weekend, the races, and stuff like that, uh, somebody asked, when does the IndyCar game release? Don't know. I haven't really been following motorsport games. There really isn't anything going on except apparently uh, the servers are down for, I believe, I'm not sure if it's Rivals or Heat 5 or whatever the hell people have been playing, but it's been a couple of weeks. I don't know too much information about that. I know they posted a tweet saying that they were looking into it. They were going to get it fixed. I don't think they're fixing anything. I think this is on purpose. I think that what they're trying to do is to get the community to get desperate for something so that when they finally release whatever garbage they're going to release, that people are desperate enough to go buy it and support it. That's what they're doing. I've never seen a situation where a game developer or publisher has a problem with the online servers that lasts more than maybe 24, 48 hours. And that's the worst case scenario. So I don't believe that this is a problem that they're working on. I think this is on purpose. And that's what they're trying to do. They want to build up this desperation so that when they release whatever garbage they're going to release, that people are desperate and they'll just buy it because they don't have anything. I think that's what's going on. But yeah, so I don't know when IndyCar is coming out. There's no word on that as far as I know. Josh Williams on Saturday. I didn't catch the full race. I only saw parts of it and I was busy. I had to go out and run some errands. I didn't hear about what happened till afterwards. I know something happened on the track and he ended up abandoning the car, I think. I really don't know too much about what's going on. I know that there's a lot of people on social media that are applauding what he did. I know he got reprimanded by NASCAR. I don't have the full story, so I don't know what to say about that because I haven't really followed it. I don't even know who Josh Williams is. I guess he's one of these middle tier drivers, I guess. So I don't know what happened. It sounds like he got pissed about something and just decided to leave the car on the track. So yeah, everyone's joining in. Okay. Hold on a second. Let me. Hey, what if? Glad that you made it. My condolences. I'm sorry to hear about your the loss of your family member. That really sucks, man. I hope everybody's doing well, and I'm sorry to hear it. I hope everything's well. Oh, okay. Live chat. There was a problem with the chat box. Okay. What's up? NASCAR Heat 5. ACJA. Working. We'll catch it afterwards. Thanks, man. Appreciate the support. Josh Williams got black flagged for debris. Okay, I did hear something like that. Yeah, I think they black flagged him and he didn't come in quick enough or didn't come in at all. From what I heard, there was a questionable situation. We've seen cars out on the track where they have parts dangling, and it is weird because NASCAR is very selective. Sometimes they'll be very strict with one situation, but other situations they just let things go longer than they should. So I guess he got mad that he got black flagged and whatever. I know a lot of people are talking about it. NASCAR really showed the woke side yesterday. Uh, really? I don't know what that means. You're welcome. What if? Hey, Volts, how's it going? Mike Joy called people keyword. You know, I missed it. I didn't catch when he brought up the keyboard warriors thing, but I did read about it. And there were several times throughout the race where I kind of dozed off. I was like in and out for a couple of times, and it must have been one of those times where I was kind of dozing off where he brought it up. So Mike Joy, as I told you guys the last time, is a corporate tool. I don't hate Mike Joy. I have nothing against him. I actually have respect for him, for his career for the most part. I don't know why he's choosing to do this now, except he's a corporate tool. He probably just feels like defending a bad product. He doesn't like the criticism. Instead of addressing it head on, he's just, you know, really juvenile, to be honest. It's embarrassing. And it's sad that at this stage in his career, he's in the twilight of his career, that he chooses to embarrass himself this way. I didn't catch it. Like if I would have caught it live, I think I would have definitely said something. But I didn't hear about it till after the race. Jared says, but yeah, Josh was black flagged for Bondo falling off, then parked instead of allowing him to fix it. Yeah, I don't know. I guess yeah, they probably told him he's parked. Yeah, that sucks. If they parked him and didn't give him a chance, I guess I could say I understand why he got mad, but then at the same time, I don't know if I could fully co-sign somebody just saying fuck it and leaving their car out there. I don't know. Like because I didn't see it happen live and I don't really know like with my own two eyes what happened. I'm not sure how to really address that. Yeah. Let me know if you guys can read all the chats. I switched it to live chat so I can see everything, but I don't know if you guys are able to see all that. Somebody said NASCAR showed a woke side yesterday. I still don't know what that means. If you could elaborate, let me know. Okay. Um, as far as the race yesterday, I'm sure. Hold on, Joe's. I don't know what that means. Um, Yesterday's race was atrocious. It's easily the worst race of the year so far. I know we just started. Okay, Josh seemed remorseful in his post race interview. The dark and bad side of their product, basically. Can you get into more detail? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Yeah, he was probably remorseful afterwards because he was still live. But from what I see, like afterwards, after the social media and everything went viral, it seems like he's kind of trying to do both, be on both sides. Like he was remorseful, but he's also riding the wave of popularity. They just did a segment showing black NASCAR fans. I thought it was fine, nothing wrong with me. Oh, I think now I know what you guys are talking about. In the pre-race, they did this segment, "We Exist," something like that. Don't mark my words, but there was a quick segment where they showed this group of black folks that are hardcore NASCAR fans going to the races, just kind of saying, "Yeah, we exist. Black fans do exist." Um, I really have a problem when people attach the word woke to everything. I think it almost loses all of its meaning. Um, I don't think there's anything wrong with it either. Uh, I think people are too sensitive. I don't see the big deal, right? It's a little segment, and they're trying to be inclusive. I don't see anything wrong with it. I want NASCAR to be more inclusive. Are there times where something can come across as woke? To me, woke, when you use that word, it has to be for something a little more egregious. You know, it was a harmless pre-race video, just highlighting a group of black folks attending NASCAR races. I understand why some people might be kind of put off by that, but it's not a big deal. Is it really something that you should get upset about? Personally, I don't think so. Save the woke reactions for something more serious than that. That's just my opinion. It's harmless. I didn't see a problem with it. If you are getting triggered over that, I really do think it's time to stop and take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, why am I getting bent out of shape over something that is really, it's not a big deal. That's my thought on it. Um, yeah, I think that term woke is being used way too often, and a lot of times it ends up being as bad or worse than the people that are actually promoting the thing that you're calling woke. It could go both ways. Yeah, I did see that segment. I didn't see any big deal with it. If they spent like half an hour on it, okay, then I would be like, okay, I mean, it's too much. But it wasn't a big deal. I didn't see a problem with it at all. Did you see Denny and Brad porta potty situation? On Twitter, I did see something where people were posting, I think Keselowski running to a porta potty. I don't understand what the situation is there. Did he get locked in there? I don't know. I don't really know what the situation was. The race was just utter embarrassment to the sport. Yes. And by the way, um, Justin, oh my God, Allgaier, after the race on Saturday, he called it. He said that this is an embarrassing product, and that he called it for what it was. Now I know that the Sunday race was not as bad as the truck and the Xfinity, but so what? The best people can do right now is say, well, this wasn't as bad as that. That's a low bar. They're celebrating that like the end of the race was better than than the first half. And by the way, it wasn't just the first half. I think 75% of that race was absolutely mind-numbingly boring. I was dozing off for parts of it. It was a conga line, single file most of the time. And then when it went double file, all of a sudden people were like, oh, look, it improved. Did you see the end of the race? Did you see the last um, stage? And I'm like, yeah, I saw it. So what? It's still a boring conga line. I still don't understand the fascination some people have with that. I'm sorry. That's not real racing to me. It's awful. And I don't know what to tell you. If you want to say I'm too old for this shit, maybe you're right. I'm an old school fan. I like old school racing. And I see people complain about, I don't want to see guys out to a 5 or 6 second lead, lapping a bunch of cars. Well, That's fucking racing. I don't know what to tell you. When did that become like a negative thing? And I think it's those fans that have created this fucking mess. This didn't start with Atlanta. This started years ago after that stupid All Star race where they tried that fucking pack racing package. You guys remember that? I did videos on it. Remember when Captain Sleeveless and Eric Estep were calling it Baby Daytona and all kinds of shit and promoting it? And I warned everybody back then this was not good. And then after that, NASCAR started messing with the race package of the cars. And then they ruined mile and a half racing everywhere. So now we finally have with this new car really, really good mile and a half racing. And then you get these idiots complaining. E-Step, he's got a channel. He's got a pretty big channel, by the way. Um, I'm surprised that you don't know who it is, but if you don't follow, I guess you don't. But he's got a good channel. I listen. I watch his videos. I don't have anything against him, but it did kind of bother me. And he did his reviews of like he reviewed this race at Atlanta, and he's got the groovy gauge, right, which is pretty much his rating system, right? And I give it a rating, and I'll tell you it's a fucking 2 out of 10 at best, and I'm being nice. But he said it was a 75% on his groovy gauge. Well, his fucking groovy gauge is broken because that was an atrocious race. It was easily the worst race we've had this year. I'm sorry. I'll take Phoenix over this every time. Phoenix was an average race, but there's nothing wrong with average. This is the only sport where people constantly expect every single event to be a fucking 8 out of 10. It's sports. It's not always going to be the most memorable experience. Go to a football game, go to a baseball game, go to a basketball game. Sometimes the games are amazing, and sometimes they're not. More often than not, they're not great. You watched a football game live, you went to a baseball game, and then you go home and you're like, it was okay, it was average. Or sometimes you go and it's like, wow, Aaron Judge hit 2 fucking home runs. That was great. I had a great time. You don't know. You're not supposed to know. It's not supposed to be predictable. That's sports. If you want predictable, go watch a movie. Okay? And that's what bothers me about people. There's nothing more predictable than plate racing. You don't, yeah, you may not know who the winner's going to be, but you know what you're going to see. 80% of the race is going to be a conga line where nothing happens. Or you're going to get a wreck here, a wreck there. People are going to get taken out that have nothing to do with the wreck. And then at the end, you get this crazy finish. And that's the biggest surprise of yesterday, that the race ended green. There was no late caution. There was no green flag checker. Crazy finish. And if you watch the broadcast, if you watch people's reaction on Twitter and whatever social media, that's what everyone was bragging about. Hey, we got a green finish. Did you see that? That was great. It better than what we usually get? Okay, yes. But that doesn't make it a great race. It was an abomination. So what? That's what you're bragging about? That there wasn't that usual big wreck you get in every plate race? That's the best you could say about this race. That alone should tell you where the product is. Oh, and they couldn't wait to tell you, in the booth and all this other shit. Oh man, we got a green finish. We didn't get a caution. What a great finish. They're doing everything they can to promote the product. I get it to a point, but don't bullshit people. So, before I remind you, I got a video here. I'm going to show you real quick. So I don't want to miss any comments. Let me go back. Uh, Let me go up. Bear with me. Wow, there's a lot of comments I missed. Okay. I start talking, I kept going, but the porta potty, nope, don't know about that yet. Am I excited for the Coda race? You know what? You guys know I don't really care for road course racing, but I'm not gonna lie. After watching this abomination, I am a little excited. You know why? Say what you want. At least it's real racing. At least it's real racing. This is not real racing. Wide open throttle, fucking pack racing, conga line garbage is not real racing. So yeah, I am kind of looking forward to Coda. I'm not gonna say I'm fucking ecstatic, but it's better than this. It's gonna be better. And sadly, I think the week after is we're back to Talladega. So yeah, but yeah, I am. I guess you could say I am excited somewhat. What do you think of NASCAR going out of their way to support Women's History Month? I don't know about out of their way. What do you mean out of their way? A couple of paint schemes? If that, I mean, that's not a big deal. Um, yeah, I don't. I need more information. They do show it over and over. Uh, are you referring to the black fan base? Okay, look, man. If you feel like they showed it too much, who am I to tell you that it shouldn't bother you? All I can tell you is it didn't get to the point where it bothered me. Um, I do think there's a part of NASCAR and NASCAR history that, as annoying as it might be to some fans, it should be addressed. How you address it, it is important. You can't beat people over the head with something. I'm totally in agreement on that. But there's a subtle in between there where you can try to hit. I don't know. I didn't see anything egregious, in my opinion. A bunch of F1 drivers and Jimmy Johnson. What do you mean? Oh, in Coda? Is that what you're referring? Um, I gotta say one thing. I do kind of like watching some of these guys, these ringers. It does add something, I think, and to see some of these guys competing with guys that drive every week, I kind of like that. I don't have a problem with that. I think isn't Kimi Räikkönen? He's going to be racing for Trackhouse. I think. Is it at Coda or a different road course? I'm not sure yet, but he didn't embarrass himself. He raced pretty well last time, and I think he ran into some problems. I think he had contact with somebody and something happened. I don't back any of that anyway. Uh, it was created to divide everyone up into categories. We all human and should be treated the same as the next schmuck. I agree. Um, I don't know. I don't know all the details of what you guys are really getting into, but I agree. Try to treat everyone the same. You know, dividing people and making that there's a way to do things without going too far or just overdoing it is what I'm trying to say. There are things that need to be addressed, but be subtle. The problem is, and this is partly Fox. It just feels like Fox. Everything they do is just they don't know what they're doing. Um, they're a mess, and it's like everything they do, they fuck it up. So I don't know what to say. Maybe a different broadcast would handle certain things, topics better. What if says the way the booth handled Allgaier's comment on the Xfinity race by saying, "Oh, it's a good race," really depressing. Yes, I caught that. You have a legitimate NASCAR driver telling you this is embarrassing, this is garbage about the pack racing, and instead of saying, you know what, he's a real racer, maybe he has a point, they just kind of downplayed it and they were like, oh, it was a good race. No, it wasn't. This is what bothers me. These guys are working overtime to sell you on garbage. It's like they're telling you, don't believe your lying eyes. Uh, Before we go any further, I want to show you this. I made this video a year ago. This is a year ago after the previous race at Atlanta. Just to show you how far these guys go to be salesmen and push bullshit. These are used car salesmen. That's what Mike Joy's been doing since Daytona. This is why he calls people keyboard warriors, because they dismiss people's criticisms, telling you you don't know what you're talking about. Even though you just saw something that you think is garbage, you're wrong. So watch Larry McReynolds, and this is from a year ago. Listen.
Sunday, I'm not sure how anyone could say I didn't enjoy that race. And I've got to say it's the best race I've ever seen at a 1.5-mile track. We had 46 lead changes among 20 drivers. That's 11 more lead changes than we had in the Daytona 500.
Okay. Some of you might have seen that video. I made that video, and I'm proud of it with the editing. But as you could see, Larry McReynolds telling people, literally, it was the greatest race ever at a 1.5-mile track. He legitimately said that. For those of you who didn't catch it, listen.
Sunday, I'm not sure how anyone could say I didn't enjoy that race. And I've got to say it's the best race I've ever seen at a 1.5-mile track.
So he says, I don't know what other people are talking about. What is he talking about? He's talking about us keyboard warriors who complained last year. So he's basically telling you, don't believe your lying eyes. You don't know what you're talking about. This is the best race I've ever seen at a 1.5-mile track. That's what he just told you after the race. What a load of bullshit. This race was so great that nobody ever talked about it again. When was the last time you had a discussion or saw other people having a conversation about great NASCAR races from the past? When people talk about that stuff, you know what I hear? I hear when Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch, remember that finish at Darlington when they were beating and banging to the finish line? That's the kind of shit I hear when people are talking about greatest races ever. Okay, that's just one example. They talk about races from way back. Nobody's talking about that race at Atlanta that he says was the greatest race at a 1.5-mile track that he's ever seen. This is Larry McReynolds. So he's full of shit.
We had
The bullshit's not over. Listen.
46 lead changes among 20 drivers. That's 11 more lead changes than we had in the Daytona 500.
So, this is the other bullshit they do. So, as you know, these plate races, you have a conga line. And there's two, when they're side by side, two conga lines, this is what they do, right? This is what the line's doing all day long. So, when he talks about changes, lead changes, he's talking about these guys up doing this. So every time these two conga lines are doing this, they're seesawing, they count that as a pass. Everything this happens as pass, 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 pass. So they count all that. And then he comes out and says, there were so many passes for the lead changes and this and that. So on paper, It looks impressive. It's like, wow, we don't see this many lead changes anywhere combined. But basically, what they're doing is they're counting this seesaw of these two conga lines doing this. It's meaningless. And you're sitting there and you watch that conga line and you're doing this all day, drifting away and like and it's just this conga line. It's not real racing. But this is the kind of bullshit that you get. Now, if you want to hear a real reaction, genuine honesty from a real actual participant, you got one from Justin Allgaier on Saturday. He gave you the truth. It was an embarrassment. But going back to this best mile and a half race he's ever seen, Larry McReynolds, here's what Kyle Busch thinks.
You serious?
This type of racing, is it making you more an entertainer than a driver?
Yep.
You like this version of Atlanta better than the old one?
Nope.
Do you need more than that? So is it just a keyboard warrior who's telling you that these races suck? You're getting it from real NASCAR drivers. You think if they had a choice that they would, if somebody asked them, do you want more of these type of racetracks? I guarantee you the vast majority of them would say no. They don't enjoy this. And I'm going to tell you something else before I forget my point, and I will go back and read the comments again, and then we can move on, hopefully, to other stuff. But if you want to know why there are so many of this new generation of fans that actually like this garbage racing, or, well, I'm going to call it racing because whatever. In my opinion, I think a lot of them, one, if they're in an age group where they don't remember the older races, the real racing, where you had long green flag runs and the leader getting out to these big leads and lapping cars. Old school fans understand that's real racing. That's part of racing. This new generation doesn't get it because they don't remember those races. They grew up under this pack racing bullshit. Remember that all-star race I talked about? When was that? 2017, 2018? Wasn't that long ago, but it was a few years ago. And NASCAR playing with the package, with the lower horsepower and the higher downforce, trying to recreate this. And then all of a sudden, these mile and a half tracks were terrible. There was no passing. And then people were like, they hated the racing, but they were used to it. They were like, this is racing. So now this new car comes along and it's actually brought back some of that old school racing. Not all the way, but the mile and a half races are vastly improved, except for here at Atlanta, which they destroyed the track and created a plate track. So this new generation of fans, they view this as normal. So when they watch a race, a normal old school type of race, like we saw at Vegas, they look at that and like, what is this? They're lapping cars. These leaders are getting out to big leads. I don't know. My mind doesn't know how to process this or register it. I'm not used to this. Then they go to Atlanta. They're like, oh, this is real racing. Because to me, this is a generational issue. Another thing is, if you look at this younger fan base, where do they spend their time? Playing video games and on iRacing. So what are the most popular tracks at these video games? And I'm going back to the Heat series, to Eutechnics, I'm not just talking about the past 2 or 3 years, just the past decade. The most popular races where everybody's racing online, one of the complaints that you've heard me have through the years about the online racing community is that all they want to do is Daytona Talladega, Daytona Talladega. They don't want to run long races at like fucking uh, 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 other mile-and-a-half tracks, or even short tracks, or Dover, or whatever the case may be. And the reason those tracks are popular, Daytona, Talladega, even to this day, everybody on iRacing, when Daytona, Talladega's on, they run as many races as they can. The reason is it doesn't take as much skill as the other tracks. Anybody can hold the car wide open. Anybody can hold these cars in a straight line. And as long as you don't get caught up in a wreck and you're there at the end, you have a chance to win. And a lot of these guys can't win anywhere else. And you're talking to somebody who knows from experience. I've only won 3 fucking races since joining iRacing. I'm not good, right? I can admit it. But the first race I ever won on iRacing was a Daytona race. And I think that's why they relate to this pack racing shit, because this is where they've spent most of their time in video games and iRacing. They don't have the skill set to run at other tracks where you actually have off throttle, tire management. Some tracks you got to use brakes. You put them on Daytona, Talladega, anybody can win. They're superheroes. You put them at fucking Martinsville or Phoenix or some of these other races, and now they're getting their ass served to them. They don't like it. And I think some of that carries over into NASCAR races. So they don't view Atlanta as a bad thing. They're like, oh, I fucking run there myself on iRacing or whatever. It's the only place I can actually be competitive because you're just wide open throttle. So I think that plays a role into it. I'm not saying it's the only thing, but it plays a role. So we're going to go to, bear with me in case anything new popped up. Fuck. All right. Let me see. Let me get okay. Let me read some of the some of your stuff here. So, I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with everything I just said. Let me know. If you disagree, let me have it. Hold on. Bear with me. I lost my place. Everything's going downhill, sadly. Yep. Will you be streaming the IndyCar game on your channel when it releases? Nope. I'm not getting the IndyCar game. One, I'm not into open wheel racing or IndyCar. I'm sorry. So I'm just not into it. And if I was, I would have gotten the F1 games, which are vastly superior to anything we've gotten from NASCAR. But I am definitely not buying that. So I don't feel like NASCAR should be the place for politics. And personally, it rubs me as them reaching for good publicity, which seems scummy. Look, here's the thing when it comes to politics. As I said before, there's a fine line between being subtle or going overboard when you cross the line, when it becomes too much. Sometimes there's a place for it, sometimes there's not. I totally understand when people feel like I don't want to see that. But I will bring up something that I've seen a lot of times in the past. If you talk about politics, I do think people are hypocritical sometimes. Look at the national anthem. I personally am not a fan of having the national anthem played at every event, sporting event. It feels like it's being forced on the public. Uh, it just, I don't know, there's something about it that to me, there's a time and a place. Sporting events, like some people say, hey, I don't want politics involved. But then you get the national anthem, you get the military, uh, the flybys, all that stuff. Some of it's cool. I don't have a big issue with it. I'm not against it, but I do see some hypocrisy there. If you want to get rid of politics, get rid of all of it. Just fucking go, start the fucking race. I don't, there's a lot of hypocrisy. Old school racing rules. Who is E-Step? Volt said a nobody. No, he's pretty well known. What if says, I'm glad I do race review tier lists of other YouTube people. Yeah, I like it. I always look forward to it to see what other people say. Um, it's just, it's just amazing to me. Everybody has their own opinion. I have to respect it. But man, these guys giving these fucking race 7, 8 out of 10. This was the worst race easily this year. Awful, awful fucking race. Voltage, he is big. LOL, he's legit sponsoring Xfinity teams. Yeah, he's well known. I think Volts knows who he is. He's just, I think, being sarcastic or just he kidding around. Uh, he's an empty suit. I don't want to attack the guy. Like, yeah, there are times I felt a little cringe. He doesn't make me cringe as much as Captain Sleeveless, so I don't know. Jarrett says open engines and a lot of drag on the nose tend to allow for amazing two-car battles. Win. I miss that a ton. The days of open engines, that's over. I hate to say it. We all want more horsepower. NASCAR doesn't want it. And the thing that bothers me about it is they claim they don't, it's a safety issue. And they also said it's a manufacturing issue and teams and money. I can't deny that that does play some role in it, but it's weird to me that NASCAR claims they care about safety, and then they just added two more pack race style races with Atlanta to the schedule. There's nothing more dangerous on the schedule than these plate tracks. And I challenge anyone to tell me what's more dangerous than wide open throttle racing. You see these ridiculous wrecks, these guys walk away, and you're putting their lives at risk unnecessarily. This was not, nobody was asking for Atlanta to be converted into a baby Daytona. They're trying to convince you that this is what the public wanted. Nobody asked for it. And in all fairness, just to show you guys I'm being fair, I have to mention that they did pack the stands. I can't argue, I can't deny that, right? People showed up. It was cold. So people did show up. Now, what do I say to that? I think it's simple. It's still a new venue. It's a new track. There's nothing else going on. Anytime there's a new venue, it's always going to be packed. Any new stadium, any new sporting facility is always going to pack. You're going to get people to come because it's new. Come back to me in 5 or 6 years. If they're still packing this place, I'll be impressed. The racing, I'm never going to be impressed with, but people are showing up. I don't know what to say. I don't think it's going to last, but who knows? Right. Remember when Motorsport Games was going to be transparent? Yeah, they were full of shit. I told you guys back then. Transparent. They're full of shit. But, everything I've told you guys, it's happened. It's already happened. I told you guys you're not getting a brand new ground up game. The last rumors that I saw are that their plan is to release the NASCAR Heat 5 DLC. They're just gonna fucking repackage it as a new game. I told you, you're not getting a new game from these guys. And this is all fucking garbage. You don't like Radman? He seems really popular. Not sure what his content delivers though. Wheeling Lake Erie. Okay, so first I want to welcome you to the channel. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being a part of the conversation. But clearly you haven't seen my channel before. Um, yeah, Radman has a large following, but I don't know. He's a fucking tool, in my opinion. I'm not gonna get further into it. You should go check out my old videos. I've covered it. Um, I've addressed him directly. He's a shill for motorsport games, an embarrassing shill. I'm not gonna say anything else. Uh, I don't want to keep, bringing him up for no reason. I think that more drivers get used to plate racing, the less interesting it becomes. It's never been interesting. It sucks. Plate racing is garbage. It's just, you know, when you see the guys that actually finished and had a good top five and they survived, yeah, they're not gonna be complaining because they survived. They got a good finish. They walked away without being involved in a wreck. And Keselowski said, "Hey, look, we proved we can finish without wrecking." To me, you got to be careful making statements like that because he should know better than anyone that what happened yesterday was an anomaly. That's not the norm. And I'm glad it finished green, but it doesn't make it a great race. And what he's saying is leading people into this false sense of security that, hey, if these guys want to finish without wrecking, they can. That's not going to happen. This is a one time thing. It might happen once, who knows, again. The vast 99% of these races finish in a huge wreck, and they have to have this green flag restart. This is not the norm. So don't tell people that because then people are going to say, hey, this can happen a lot, all the time. Okay. Sold his soul. Yep. He's not a fan of road course racing. I guess you mean me. Yeah, I'm not a fan of road course racing. That's no secret. Um, I do like Watkins Glen, and the Charlotte Roval's pretty cool. I don't hate it. Like if I had to pick a road course, I could say I absolutely hate, and I hate it. I think almost as much as Atlanta and Daytona and Talladega is the Indy road course. That's a horrible road course. I fucking hate it. The other road courses, I could live with it. I can watch it on TV. Um, Definitely, it's real racing. I'm not a huge fan, but I can watch. I can tolerate it. Um, it's not bad. Like I can't tell you road course racing is bad. There's no way I could say that. It's actually not bad at all. I just personally don't enjoy road courses. I think that 4 road courses was enough. If you want to make a case for 5 on the schedule, I could live with that. But now they added a street course. They added that stupid Indy road course. It's too many fucking road courses on the schedule. I think 5 is the perfect number. Remember, every time you add a road course, you have to eliminate another track. And the tracks that have been eliminated I mean, Chicagoland. Um, who wouldn't want that back? I know somebody's gonna say I didn't like it, but I mean that's what happens. But I'm not gonna bash road courses. The racing is normally pretty decent. The stages are terrible, but they are doing away with the stages at road courses. So I'm looking forward to that part of it, honestly. So I agree on Radman, but Eric is decent. Yeah, I don't. Eric Estep's okay. I can't really go, but there's just a couple. I don't know. There's a few times I kind of cringe a bit, but he's not bad. I agree on Rad. Okay, can't believe they ran those last 40 laps without crashing. Yeah, I mean that's an anomaly. So okay, but people are making it seem. You go on social media, people are like, "Did you see the last stage? That was great racing." No, it wasn't. It wasn't fucking great. you know, it was better than the what happened before. So it was a single line conga line for a huge chunk of the race, and then they went to double wide. And okay, they were fighting a little bit for the lead here and there. It was man, it's nowhere near what people are making it seem. But it was amazing that they didn't crash. I guess you could say that. Uh, to each his own. He's had some really bad takes and questionable ethical positions. Yeah, that's Captain Sleeveless. Richmond is after Coda and then Bristol. Okay, so I do remember they mentioned Talladega coming soon. So I'm not looking forward to that. But Richmond, I hope we see better racing because Richmond has not been good lately. It used to be pretty good and then it got bad. It's been bad for a while. Um, I don't know if it's, I mean, I don't know. I think they're trying a shorter spoiler and a few changes. I don't know. I'm hoping we get something better. Okay, so I agree, but I mean his schemes on the cars do look nice. Kimi Räikkönen is racing at Coda. Yep. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I like seeing these guys come from like F1 or Indy or wherever and just get in the mix. I really do like that. I just like the fact that they want to be a part of NASCAR. There was a time where these guys looked down their noses at NASCAR. And I think that when somebody with that kind of prestige level of a Kimi Räikkönen, I would love to see someone like the F1 guy, Lewis Hamilton, or who's the other guy? Perez. There's a lot of good names, big high profile names from IndyCar and F1 who I would love to see just come and just give it a shot. It fascinates me when those guys come to experience something. And then I'm like, I want to see how good they do. I was a big fan of Juan Pablo Montoya and watching him compete. And I like that. I think that makes it interesting. So I'm always a fan of watching guys come from somewhere completely different. So Trackhouse Racing, of course. Let's see, BJ Racing, how you doing? What do you think of Mike Joy poking fun of keyboard warriors again, claiming since they added a color tracker at the top, it's a better broadcast? That color tracker is dumb. Um, it doesn't bring anything. He made 0 cents. Yep, I'm so sick of Mike Joy. I co-signed that comment 100%. Yeah, I've had it up to here with him. This isn't a one-time thing. He's doing this a lot now. Um, Also, I did see on Twitter today, he got called out again, and now he's trying to back down and say, "Oh, I only brought up the keyboard warriors thing to get people's attention because I want to know about what they think of, I don't know what, I guess this color tracker garbage." He's so full of shit, very disingenuous, acting like he didn't understand that keyboard warriors is an insult. Nobody uses the term keyboard warrior in a positive light. He knows that. By the way, it's not his first time on social media. And he's actually, for him to do that and not realize that what he's doing, he's acting like a keyboard warrior and he doesn't see that. It's so disingenuous. And then pretending like, oh, I didn't mean it that way. So somebody gave him an actual like Wikipedia explanation of what keyboard warriors is and how it's an insult. Then he goes, "Oh, got it. Point taken." So he's trying to, he throws darts or knives and then he hides his hand and he's playing these games. And that's what I think is embarrassing. He's too old and he has a long, distinguished, respectable career. Why would you risk that now in the twilight of your career and then do something that's immature? And now he's doing this on live broadcast. I'm done with him. He's a corporate tool. I told you guys he's a fucking corporate hack. That video you made is gold. Oh, the video with from last year, and there was no lies told there. They clearly aren't talking to fans that have been supporting their sport for 20 years or more. I might give Larry a break if those were full slingshot passes. Larry McReynolds, who I like. I still like Larry. By the way, in spite of that bullshit, I like Larry McReynolds. I don't know why. Like, I'm not giving him a full pass, but I still like him. Um, but that was bullshit. So, uh, how can Fox make the broadcast better? Suggestions? I've already said less commercials, do more side by side. I know you can't eliminate commercials, but they come back they do run a few laps, go right back to commercial. Then they come back, do a few laps, go right back to it's too much. Don't tell me there's not a way that they can somehow break it down where there's less commercials or do more side by side where they do the commercial and you still watch the race. That's number one. Number two, that fucking ticker is an abomination. Go back to the old scrolling ticker that's constantly moving. I'm so sick of this fucking giant black block that takes up, I would say, 15 to 20% of the screen, and it stays stuck on the top 20 forever. And you got to sit and stare at it, waiting for it to move so you could see who's running behind 20th place. It's terrible. It's an eyesore. The old scrolling ticker from the good old days was constantly moving. It didn't take up a lot of room. And no matter who you were following, it was constantly moving and you could see who was where. It didn't take long. Um, the booth, uh, take the racing more serious. Focus more on the on track where people are battling for passing. I think they focus way too much on the leaders. And if the leader has a lead, they just kind of show you the first couple of guys. I'm not saying they never show a battle like beyond mid pack, but it rarely happens. And there's a lot of good racing going on throughout the field. You just have to be aware of it, follow it. Also, go back to the old days where they did the rundown. They would start from the leaders and they would run down the entire field. And they would go car by car, how they were running, what place they were in, when they started, how the car was handling, what the driver's complaint was, what they wanted to do in the next pit stop. You got a full breakdown of each car while you were watching. And you really got a better sense of what was happening. There's a lot you can do there. Now, somebody brought up a good point the last time I mentioned it. Give me a second. And the point was that it's a lot of money. You have to hire more trackside reporters in the pits. Those are the people that get all this information. So my answer to that is this: cut down on the pre-race. The pre-race is way too much production going on. Useless. Do we really need Michael Waltrip doing that cringy fucking pre-race walk? It's awful. Nobody likes it. The drivers don't even like talking to him. Um, NBC's bad too. With this fucking idiot. I hate this Rutledge Wood guy. Totally useless. There's a lot of shit that happens pre-race. So do you need an hour, hour and a half of do a half hour pre-race. So now you cut down on the production for the pre-race. Use a lot of that resources to hire more pit reporters so that during the race you can get a lot of this information and you can do this down the field, through the field stuff. And then also have those segments where Larry McReynolds, and he did it once, I think, during the race, where he showed the drafting effect on the car. In the old days, I remember there were maybe 3 times or 4 times during the race where they would show you a breakdown of the car. If something happened during the race, they would say, hey, here's an adjustment they make, and the track bar, raising it or lowering it, would make the car looser, or the wedge, or the shock and spring package. And, you had the bump stop, and they could literally show you all this through animation. And you had Larry McReynolds in real time explaining certain things about the car. Let's say somebody on the track had an issue with the car, and they would immediately go to that cutout, the animation. These are the things that people find interesting. And if you have a casual fan who happens to be watching, that's the type of thing that you can get for a casual fan to get pulled in more. Because now a casual fan can watch the race and say, oh, that's what they mean by loose, tight. I know those of you here who are here right now listening to me, you guys understand what all that is. But it's not about us. It's about these other fans that NASCAR wants to get and hold on to. And those are the type of things that help. So that when they see through the field, they see where they're the guy that they happen to be paying attention to or rooting for. What's going on? What's this adjustment they're talking about? What do they mean the car's too loose? And they can do this during the race. They just don't do enough of that anymore. Instead, they replace that with relying on the booth, the banter, this circus bullshit. And you get, Clint Boyer trying to be a fucking clown, and then the other guys in the booth trying to keep up with him. And it's not good, man. Take the racing more serious, the way F1 does. And even the way Fox used to do it 15, 20 years ago is vastly superior. So these are the type of things I want to see that I think would improve the broadcast. And NBC, to their credit, is way better, light years ahead of Fox. They're not perfect, but man, Junior and Burton and whoever else is in the booth, they take the racing a lot more serious. The production's better. It's just way better. Okay, so let's see. What If Racing says, Brock Beard said it best. There's a massive disconnect between what the drivers and what the booth want. Yep, that's right. I gained a lot of respect for Kyle after he did that. Yep, listen, I have never been a fan of Kyle Busch, but I've been fair. And when he's right about something, I show it to you, and I'll give him credit. Same thing with Denny Hamlin. I don't like Denny Hamlin at all, but he's made some good points. He's even mentioned things like NASCAR should think about changing the gearing so that a lot of these oval tracks, these guys aren't shifting. That's something that I agree with. I don't like watching these guys shift at fucking oval tracks. That shouldn't be happening at an oval track. It doesn't add anything, and I don't think it's a good thing. So, yes, I respect Kyle's opinion for the most part. So I don't have to be a fan. I respect somebody even if I don't like the person. If they say something I agree with or I think is right, I give them credit. Charlotte All-Star Pack Racing was in 2018. Yeah, thank you. And I some of you remember, and I was on it immediately. And I warned everybody what was coming. And if you notice, everything after that was leading to this. And that's why the race package at mile and a half tracks became horrible. Now, this next gen car, for the most part, has been in so much better. These mile and a half, 2 mile tracks have been the best racing. Auto Club, fantastic. I enjoyed Vegas. Vegas to me was very old school racing. And, people didn't like it. Long green flag runs, multiple green flag pit stops. They're not used to it. Get used to it. That's a good thing. The gimmick stage racing, I agree, man. I look forward to Coda. Like just the fact that the stage racing is not going to be a part of it. I'm looking forward to that. But get rid of it everywhere. So, yeah. Let's see. Don't treat your fans like idiots. Pick better times for commercials. Uh, yeah, man. Mike Joy is shitting on the fans. That's not a good thing to do. I don't understand what he's doing. He must not have any fucking friends or family members who like him, because if they did, somebody should pull him to the side and say, "You're getting fucking eaten up on social media." In fact, he should have enough sense to say, "This isn't going over well." Now, I will say this. If he really, really believes in what he's saying, then don't back down. Don't back down. Even if I disagree with you, if you believe in something, then stand by it. I'll at least respect that. But he's not doing that. He's not doing that. I read some of his tweets today and he's back kind of downplaying it. He's like, "Oh, I didn't mean it as an insult. I didn't really know that." Then when people kept coming back at him saying somebody actually posted the meaning of keyboard warrior and how it's insulting, then he was like, "Oh, I get it. Point taken." He's so full of shit. And that's what I mean. If you're not going to stand by it, now you're kind of backpedaling. Fuck this guy. He's a corporate tool. Bring back the ticker at the top. Amen. Uh, yep. Daytona, Talladega. Sup, Disco. Much love, respect. Thank you, Austin. Same to you. Jared says these tapered spacers got to go. It's been getting harder and harder to watch. Yeah, I get it, man. I get it, but NASCAR is not going to do it. That ship has sailed. They don't want to hear about adding horsepower, and it sucks. Adding horsepower would eliminate a lot of issues, but I think reducing downforce would help. But they're never going to take away the spacers, especially at a plate track. No. Running on ragged edge to showcase talent. That's right. And that's what I mean. These guys, they watch plate races. A lot of this fan base, not everybody, but these guys, they spend these are the people that spend all day on fucking NASCAR heat on Daytona Talladega. They don't want to do a different race. Because anybody could do it. There's no skill level. There's no skill level needed to do that. So that's why they like this shit. There's no fucking skill involved holding the pedal wide open. It's just it's garbage. Austin asks, I needed a Disco Inferno rant. This isn't really a rant. I mean, I'm just telling you like I feel like it is, but This isn't really a rant. Uh, I can go a lot harder than this, but I'm just tired. Like, I've been talking about this stupid pack racing garbage for years. And oh my God, it's just, I've had people say it's not going to go anywhere. Why, you're wasting your time. The reason that I think it's important for people to speak out and not let people like fucking Mike Joy and Larry McReynolds or Michael Waltrip or any of these guys who try to bullshit you on how good of a product this is, not to let them gaslight you. It's important to say something because you don't want NASCAR to get the idea that people want more of it. Because I'm telling you, then the next time they get a chance to add more of it, they will. So, why am I complaining? It's not because I think NASCAR is going to listen to me and say, okay, get rid of this fucking Atlanta track. Let's just do what Disco Inferno says. It's not about that. It's about the community coming together and understanding that this is not real racing and that if you support this and you tell people it's okay that these people are running a conga line for 85% of the race, there's no point. What's the point? I actually saw somebody post the reason that it's a conga line for the first two stages is because they don't want to risk getting in a wreck and they want to be there at the end. Well, you just proved my point. There's no point in running 400 miles. Why not just make it a 10-mile race? Just run 10 or whatever. Run 10 laps. A 10-lap sprint and let all hell break loose and that's your race. There's no point in sitting through the first 3 hours of a conga line if that's the case. What's the fucking point? Just tune into the last 10 laps and you didn't miss anything. That's my point. What other race can you say that it doesn't matter what you watch from the first 90%, 95% of the race? So these people actually post that. They think they're defending the product and you're making my point. The race, nothing matters. These stupid conga lines don't make a difference. It doesn't matter. We saw 80% of these fucking races, these guys in a chain. Just, and then they're like, okay, is it time to go yet? And they decided that late in the last stage, it's like, okay, let's fucking race. Let's try something. It speaks for itself. So the drivers wanted something else for Atlanta, but NASCAR didn't listen. Yeah, listen, they're committed to this shit at Atlanta. They're committed to it. They just fucking it's fucked up, man. Now I've seen people say add horsepower and it'll or the intermediate package. I agree, but they added so much banking to this track. I don't know if even that would work, but I'm sure it would help. Um, it's this track is so sad. This used to be one of the best tracks. I know it got bad for a period, but people don't understand. You know, it's one thing to say, "Hey, this is not working here," but it's another thing to say, "Why is this not working?" You have to know why, and that's what I tell people. So they looked at Atlanta and they were like, "Oh, this shit sucks. The racing sucks." And I told people, it's the fucking race package. It's the shit, the push for this, more of this that fucking all-star package. It led to that. This next gen car, did you see the race at Charlotte last year? The Coke 600, one of the best races. This fucking new car is performing really good at mile-and-a-half tracks. Wouldn't you have liked to see how this would have worked in the old Atlanta? I would. I know the track needed a repave. I get it. And that a new track fresh pave usually hurts the racing. But wouldn't you like to see what this next gen car, how it would perform? I would have. This is predictable. When they come back to Atlanta, it's going to be the same boring conga lines again. It's just, and they're going to be selling it to you again into something it isn't. They're going to try to gaslight you and tell you it's great. It's not. Let me move on. I'm talking too much about the same shit. Let's see. What do you feel about Rockingham potentially getting a cup date back in the next few years? Two double thumbs up to that. Rockingham is a great track, lots of rich history. Um, Man, I would like to see this next gen car. What would it be like? It's not really a mile and a half track, if I remember. It's kind of shaped like a mile and a half, but it's kind of not. It's like a mile or slightly more than a mile. So it's a fast track, but yeah, that's man, that would be a great track. Yeah, I would love that coming back. Sonoma is horrible. I agree. I'm just not a big fan of road courses, and that is one of the road courses I don't like. Sonoma's never been, to me, it's not the best track. I think Watkins Glen might be my favorite road course, and the Roval's pretty good, but I think Watkins Glen might be the best for me. Coda, it's a cool looking track. I just don't know. I think open wheel is made for open wheel. There's really sharp turns at Coda, and the cars really got to slow down a lot. I'm not sure that stock cars perform as well there. The race wasn't terrible last year, but I hate that, especially that like that first turn. You got these motherfuckers going 4 or 5 wide, crashing into each other, and it's a shit show. And that's what I'm not crazy about Coda. I think once they kind of spread out a bit, it gets good. But yeah, when they're bunched up in early, you get 4 or 5 wide in the corner. It's yeah. And Sonoma's the same. I love Coda, but not Indy. Indy's not made for NASCAR. Indy's terrible. Um, I kind of missed the Brickyard. I did enjoy the Brickyard. I know some people didn't like it. But the fucking road course at Indy, absolutely the worst. I fucking hate that track with a passion. One of the worst races, and it's produced bad races more than once. What's your thoughts on NWB return? And are you happy to see Harvick back in the 29? I don't. I'm not. I've never been a Harvick fan. I don't really care. If you're a fan of like the old 29 car when he first came in, I totally get it. It doesn't matter to me. NWB. What's NWB? Return. Who's NWB? Is that a person? I don't know. You got to let me know what NWB. What do you mean by that? It's not coming to me. Street course will be a snake. That's oh my god. That's another potential shit show. Code is made for any form of racing. Yeah, and I honestly it wasn't bad when I raced on it in iRacing. But it's tough, man. It is a tough track. Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I am in a way, and having no stages, I can't wait to see how that works out. It's got to be better. Riverside was a road course that catered to stock cars. I remember, yeah, that Riverside, that's an old school track. Is that the track that used to be like at an airport or part of an airport? Something in my mind brings me back to that. I don't know if it's Riverside, but courses where we go now, with the exception to the Glen, are made for light, agile cars. That's the thing about Coda. Those really, really sharp corners, like that first turn, it's almost a 180-degree turn. Yeah, that's made for really light open wheel cars. Those cars are glued to the track. And I know some people think it's cool watching these cars go five wide in the corner and just beating and banging. And, you know, it's just, I don't know, man. That shit's a little too much for me. And it sucks, watching a guy that just gets caught, who's fast and then they get wrecked or they get punted out the way and they go from fucking like running top five to all the way in the back because they just caught in the middle of a five wide in a turn. And yeah, so that's what I don't like about tracks like Coda with these really super sharp turns. And that's why Watkins Glen is great. Watkins Glen just it works. So may I ask if you don't mind, what do them dogs look like? What dogs? I don't know. What do you mean dogs? Am I missing something? I don't know. You got to explain to me. Some of these comments I don't fully understand what the question is. Addicted to Speed says, I have low expectations for Chicago, mostly 90-degree turns, also known as Art Road Course T1, or yeah, no passing, late caution will happen. Yeah, I have no faith in that Chicago street course. Volt says, I just like Montoya um, for showing that jet dryer who's boss. Wow, yeah, man, that was crazy. You know, crazy moment, man. I don't know how to. I still to this day don't understand what happened. Did he run over something on the track, or he's lost traction? Was he speeding under caution? I don't get. I don't remember how that happened, but that was insane, man. That was crazy. Mike Joy has totally lost touch. Yeah, he's nothing but a shill. He's a fucking corporate shill, man. You got it. Let's see. What if racing? Notice how the Xfinity race there was no pit reporter interviewing the drivers. It's like they are on a skeleton crew now. Yeah, man. They definitely have less production value than the Cup. Disco, I'm late to the party. Hey, what's up, John Public? Not sure what all I missed. I figure Atlanta for one. Yeah, I've been on this Atlanta thing for a while. I don't want to keep fucking. I don't know, man. NASCAR just decided to get lazy all of a sudden. NASCAR Sam, I agree 100%. Fox still sucks. Yes, they do. Mike Joy and his keyboard warriors is just cringe. Yeah, I don't get it. Um, why is he doing this? Like last week, I thought he got the message. Like there was a lot of negative backlash. You would think he would just get the hint and say, let me just stick to what I'm doing. He's still doing it. Um, I don't know, man. Tom Freeman, how do you do? Glad you made it. So he says, and when the commercials are finally over, they spend 20 to 30 seconds advertising the next week's race with those cringy superhero cartoons. Yes, they're still doing these stupid comic book drawings, and they know. And see, you look at Mike Joy and this keyboard warrior shit, what it tells you is this whole Fox production, everybody involved follows social media. They know exactly what we say and what we think. They're not watching me. I'm nobody. But they fucking watch other people. They get comments on Twitter and they know people hate that shit. So they know people don't like it. That fucking ticker's ass. The comic book drawings, people hate it. Why are you putting chiseled fucking bodies and abs on everybody? It's cringe. And they won't stop doing it. It's like Fox has this mentality of trolling people. They think that this is helping. They're just insulting the fan base. They're going to pay a price for this at some point. Douglas Lynch says, what do you expect Mike Joy to do? You guys are going after his job, and he's not even making the decision as Fox. What part of that that don't you guys understand? It's not, he doesn't make the decisions at Fox. True. Then why is he voluntarily insulting the people making these complaints? The proper way to address it is, first, don't call people with legitimate criticism keyboard warriors. Don't insult people by talking down to them like they're dumb, by saying, I'm going to tell you in one word syllables, this is the last commercial break, or explaining to people how commercials are what pays for everything. We know these things. You don't have to insult people. The best way to address it is to say, I understand it it's annoying. I understand why people don't like all these commercials. I wish there was something we could do. Who knows? Maybe there's a way to make things better. I feel your pain. We're doing the best we can. That's the way you address it. But when you voluntarily insult people, calling them names like keyboard warrior, talking down to them, then don't get mad when people come. Then there's a backlash. You just made yourself a target. I don't have a, like I said, if Mike Joy stood 100% behind everything he said, I would have more respect. But he's backpedaling. He's acting like, oh, I didn't understand that I was being insulting. But then he's still doing it. So don't tell me that it's not his job and he doesn't make the decisions. He chose to be the spokesman. Nobody asked him. So why even do it? Nobody would be criticizing Mike Joy if he didn't volunteer to do it. So that's what we don't get. What you don't get is that that's what happens. So when you take the role of gaslighting people and people aren't stupid, don't be surprised when there's a backlash. So that's my answer. Hunter, what are your thoughts on the return of NWB? Wait a minute. Am I reading the same thing again? I don't know what NWB is. What if racing is here? The room is jamming. Uh, yeah, man, we got a nice group here. I think y'all overrate the NBC broadcast. Neither are that good. NBC misses racing too. NBC doesn't go to the field either. I hate the ticker at the top. Okay. To each his own. I prefer the sidebar. Okay, we'll have to agree to disagree on the ticker. They don't do the through the field either. And as I said earlier, I'm not telling you that NBC is great. I've even said this in the past. I've done videos. One second. It's not a great broadcast, but it is way better than Fox. I do think that the booth is pretty solid. I like Jeff Burton and Dale Jr. I think they have chemistry. I think they work well off of each other. I don't know. I forgot who the third person is, but um, it feels like they take the broadcast and the race more seriously. There's a bigger sense of excitement when something happens on the track. They're not trying to push comedy. If they say something funny, it's natural. They're not trying to work something in. Um, so yes, it's not perfect, and it's far from perfect. There are things that they can do to improve. I agree on that, but it is way better than Fox. There is a big difference, I feel. Um, and I do wish they did go through the field. There's a lot of the things that I want to see from the Fox broadcast, it goes for NBC as well. I want to see both of them do it, or anyone who broadcasts these races. Um, I want to see those things. And I'm sorry, that sidebar, I hate it. It just stays stuck on the top 20, and you got to stare at it for a long time before it shows you anything else. And then when it shows you, like, the rest of the field, it goes through it quick. It goes back to being stuck on the top 20. The block, that sidebar is too big. It takes up too much of the screen. I'm sorry. I disagree. I hate it. I like the old scrolling ticker. And, we'll have to agree to disagree. No harm, no foul. Um, Brandon No Name says, what is the alternative though? Restricted pack racing or 230 miles or more. First time a car disintegrates in the fence, people will say to slow them down again. I agree. Like I said before, they're not going to open up the engines again. Um, uh, they screwed up with Atlanta. They added so much banking that the cat's out of the bag. They almost fucked it up to the point where there isn't a lot they can do. However, if you look at the mile and a half track package, has more horsepower, and they're not running 230, at other tracks. They're not going 230 um at Charlotte or other places. So I don't think it necessarily means they're going to be that fast. Now, you could say because of the added banking, they will be going too fast regardless. I agree. So find a medium, do some testing. Remove. They got a 7-inch fucking spoiler. Chop it in half. See what happens. Add a little horsepower, remove some of that spoiler, and see what happens. Or try the intermediate package. What they're doing here is on purpose pack racing. I'm sorry, this isn't working. There are, there is no, this or that. Like there's a lot of room in between to try things. Um, yeah. John Public says, I would like the sidebar to be smaller and cycle more often. Okay, if the sidebar was thinner, smaller, and it was moving, I could live with that. I can compromise. But that sidebar right now, if you look at it, it takes up a big chunk of the screen. It's annoying. And it doesn't fucking move. I swear to God, how many times? And if you blink, you'll miss when they finally move it. It'll be back on the top 20. And it doesn't fucking move. So I could live with that. That's a good compromise. And it's 2023. We should be able to control the overlays ourselves. Well, if you watch on a streaming service, yes. But you're watching on a network broadcast, I don't see how you could control it. It has to be on a live stream off of a streaming service. Cool Cat says, I agree, John. NBC isn't perfect either, but I gotta say, I don't think anything has been worse than the early 2023 Fox. That's my point. Like, we know NBC is not perfect. There's always room for improvement, but man, it is way better. Cool Cat also says he prefers the sidebar. Oh God, not another one. Okay, we'll have to agree to disagree. Tom Freeman, the Xfinity races had 60 plus green flag laps and 60 plus laps under yellow, and the commentary said it after the race during the wrap up, but wouldn't expand on it. Yeah, they downplayed it. Even when they say something that's so obvious that like we can't just not mention it, they'll mention it and then they move to something else or they downplay it. And that is just, they feel under pressure. And it's not like anybody at NASCAR is telling them what to say. It's just something they feel it. They're like, I don't want to shit all over the product. And it's their own product as well. So, yeah, man, it's fucking obvious. Brandon No Name says they need more horsepower, more drag to generate bigger runs and a third line. Um, they need more horsepower. Uh, I don't know about the whole drag and run. You know, I don't want to rely on fucking uh, drafting and shit like that. But we're stuck with it. Like Atlanta, it is what it is, man. But now we have 6 pack races a year. All I want is for NASCAR or other track operators, for the love of God, do not add more. Don't add more. It's bad enough we have 6. I can live with it. I'll have to just eat it, but don't add more. That's all I can ask for at the moment. Atlanta Motor Speedway's forever screwed. Yep. Douglas Lynch, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Douglas, uh, I don't know what to tell you, man. You're defending Mike Joy. You're just, I love this argument. People that tell people if you don't like it, don't watch it. You don't like people criticizing the product, and you want people to just bite their tongue and just pretend like everything's okay. I'm not a lemming. I'm not doing it. I think people are lemmings that do it. If you enjoy it so much, you can keep enjoying it. But telling people not to complain, man, I can't, I don't get it. You should be ashamed doing that. Don't do that, man. Aaron Van Slambrook. Of course, today Captain Sleeveless makes a video today saying yesterday's race wasn't bad. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I didn't watch it. I'm not going to watch it. But Captain Sleeveless likes pack racing. Captain Sleeveless is one of the people that was promoting Baby Daytona after that All-Star race in 2018. It was him and Eric Estep that were like all giddy about Baby Daytona, and I called it out back then, and I told people it was not a good sign. So, yeah, I'm not surprised he liked it, and maybe he'll convince his audience of lemmings to, like, hey, this was good. It wasn't. That was the worst race of the year. It was the worst race of the year by far. John Public, yeah, pack racing is terrible. I agree. They should at least cut those down to one appearance a season. No practice, even schedule with that terrible pit lane. Yeah. Um, the teams don't want practice. The owners don't want it. I know I hear a lot of people saying they need more practice. When the owners don't want it, it's a big expense. The teams don't want it. And I got to be honest with you guys. I think last year proved I don't see a big difference. I think they proved they don't really need practice. Now, if you want to tell me they should let these guys do a quick shakedown where at each track they run 10, 15 laps just to shake the car down so that if there is a big issue with the car, they can address it. Maybe I could live with that. But people are asking for practice, and I hate to break it to you. The owners and the teams don't want it. And the idea that the teams need it, they debunked it. We went a whole season without it, and they proved they could show up and race without it. So they proved they don't need it. We didn't see big problems. So I don't know. Let's see. Also, I will say after watching the terrible Xfinity and truck, the Cup race seemed all right by comparison. The only thing you could say is there was less cautions and wrecks. That's it. That doesn't elevate it to a better race. It's just you notice the conga lines more. Uh, I hate it. Jonathan Johnson. I love the racing at Daytona Talladega, but the reason why is because those two tracks are made for it, not Atlanta. I would love to see racing like Charlotte that we got last year. Yeah, it'd be great to get more Charlotte type races. We could have had that if they didn't fuck up Atlanta, but it is what it is. The Talladega Daytona, I don't care if it's built for it or not. I still don't find conga lines staring at 3.5 hours of conga lines. I don't find it entertaining. John Public. I usually look forward more to the lower series than Cup, but those were bad. Rockingham is a 1 mile track. Okay, yeah, I know it's not a mile and a half. I knew it was smaller. I thought it was slightly bigger than 1 mile, but yeah, it's a mile track. So yeah, it's fast, but you got to drive it. You got to drive it. So I would love to see this car at that track. I think it would the racing would be really good. NASCAR Sam, I'd love for the whole field to be trapped a lap down at the next Atlanta race just to prove a point because of the weird pit road commitment line. You know, that brings up a good point. Thank you for bringing it up. I was thinking as I saw that green flag pit stop, NASCAR is so lucky that a caution didn't come out in the middle of that green flag pit stop because cars were going down 2, sometimes 3 laps. And I'm not talking about guys at the back. I'm talking about guys running, near the front to mid pack. And imagine even the top 10 guys, if you were first to pit and then 5 laps later a caution came out, you would have had guys trapped, not just 1 lap down, but sorry, several laps. They would have been in a huge pickle and it would have been terrible. You would have had maybe 5 or 6 cars on the lead lap, and then a caution comes out. You think they're going to pit knowing they could keep these cars trapped? They would stay. I mean, that would have been a mess. And I think NASCAR really lucked out that that green flag pit stop went by without a caution. That would have been a mess. So that's a great point to bring up. And I meant to talk about that and I just forgot. Watkins Glen, number one. Road America 2 could have become number one. Let's see what time drivers get used to it. Number 3, Roval. Mid Ohio is good. Indy Road Course is the absolute worst. Yep. A Cool Cat. Yes, I would love for that to happen. LOL. That pit lane is garbage. Aaron Van Slambrook. Coda truly is an open wheel track. Really designed for F1. That was my point. Due to really sharp turns and the agility of open wheel cars. Stock cars seem to crawl around Coda. Yes, those hairpin turns, they gotta almost come to, I'm not gonna say a complete stop, but man, they look like a bunch of shopping carts getting around there, especially on a restart. It's any track where you're 4 and 5 wide on a restart, man, that's not good. No stages and no Chase Elliott will make things interesting. Yep. We're getting to the, oh my God. Yeah, we've been on for almost 2 hours, so I'm going to be signing off soon. So let me try to read some of these comments, and I got to be logging off soon. So Hunter, North Wilkesboro Speedway. Oh, the NWB, North Wilkesboro Speedway. Thank you. Yes, uh, that sounds good. I really want to see how things work out. North Wilkesboro is a pretty short track. It's not a half mile, is it? I'm not sure how big it is. I think it's somewhere between a half mile and maybe like Richmond, 3/4. Is it like a 3/4? I don't mark my words on that. But it's a cool track. But I want to see how this next gen car runs there before I go all in. But definitely interested. Um, would love to see more historical tracks return. Yeah. If I remember watching, which track is it? The one at Phil in where the fuck is it? Oh my God, it's not coming to me. It's an old track that it doesn't exist anymore. In Is it in Pennsylvania? The fuck is it called? It's almost shaped like Pocono, but it was smaller. I would love to see that track. I remember watching that way back. The Truck series, I think, ran there. I think even the old Bush series. I don't remember it. And then there was another track that I thought was great too. It was all concrete. It was the only other concrete track. What am I thinking of? Like it's not coming to me, but a really cool track. The trucks definitely ran there. It was all concrete. It's not coming to me. If it does, I'll mention it. But yeah, speaking of historical tracks, that's what I'd like to see. Walking Glens is the ideal stock car course. Yep, it really works there. Let's see, BJ. Hold on. Oh my God! I When I scroll it, it goes all the way down. Hold on. All right, hold on. BJ Racing. Only night that could happen. That Daytona 500 was a billion hours. Uh, NASCAR and Fox production team was still stuck in 2002. Mike Joy acts like they have 10 million viewers. Yeah, truly acting like the smartest guys in the room syndrome. Yep. Ratings are down every single race weekend compared to last year so far, and most of those were down from the previous year. Downward trend. Jareth says Daytona Roval is a solid course with the exception to the added chicane coming out of 4. I don't understand killing the momentum right before the start finish line. Hunter, I don't like the fact that Fox uses the sidebar and NASCAR on YouTube uses the awesome classic top screen ticker. Yeah, that that screen top screen ticker, it takes up very little room and it's moving. You don't feel like you got to stare at it forever to find out where certain people are. Jonathan Johnson, I remember that Tony Stewart said the reason why NASCAR wanted the Atlanta Superspeedway is because it saves the teams money than versus other tracks. I wish the drivers' opinions matter more than money. I don't know how it saves teams money. I don't know. Hunter Fox needs to bring back the classic NASCAR. Okay, sidebar is really annoying because Fox essentially is saying you weren't in the top 20, you are irrelevant. Yep, it's not good for small teams getting sponsor awareness. Thank you. Brandon No Name says, I should have specified Talladega and Daytona. I honestly think Atlanta will wear out to a point it won't be able to pack race unless they restrict horsepower more to keep them benched up. Oh God, I don't know, man. Douglas Lint. I think what if racing having idea of putting NASCAR a streaming service. Some of us cannot afford streaming service, and what I meant by that is putting it behind a paywall. Well, here's what I'd like. I like the option of a streaming service, but you have to price it. I don't know. I don't know what a right price would be, but it should be an option. Like you should still have the option of watching a normal broadcast. And if you don't mind the commercials and all the other stuff and you just say eat it, that's your prerogative. But I'd like at least the option to say I'll pay for a fucking streaming service and I can get better coverage that isn't, shoehorning fucking commercials down your throat. So as an option, I think it's good. Now, if you're saying it's only streaming and if you don't pay for it, you're fucked. I agree. You got to give people some, option, but then it would reduce the value of the broadcast for a network. So there are things you need to work out. It's difficult, but that you got to do something. What's happening now is not working long term. I am retep. Okay, I don't know what that means. Craig Sassamon. I'm late. Don't know what if this was touched, but I love what Kozlowski said. Something like if we race with respect, we can have clear green finishes. Yeah, I did mention it. Look, I understand Kozlowski. He came off. He got a second plate. Great finish. Wasn't caught up in a wreck. So I understand why he's excited and why he says, hey, we can race clean and look. But I think he's only saying that because he got a good finish and he wasn't caught in a wreck. He's not speaking for everyone, and I really think he's looking at it with rose-colored glasses. This isn't going to happen every time. This is a very rare finish, and yeah, to just say like, "Hey, we can do it," is not being realistic. It happened, and no, I don't. This is not going to be the norm. ATSC 3.0, over-the-air antenna, TV standard. It has the capability of custom interactive overlays. They're rolling it out across the country. If that can do it, cable can, but they just don't care. Cable, I have a lot I could say about cable. It's a dying industry. People are cutting the cord. And instead of streamlining, they don't care. Nazareth, thank you. That was a great track. I would love to see that track come back. Um, yeah, it has this very unique uh concrete. Um, was that the concrete? Well, Milwaukee Mile, I remember that. I don't. Milwaukee Mile, I didn't care for. Why? Because New Hampshire. To me, Milwaukee Mile and New Hampshire, they're just too much alike. So yeah, I don't care for Milwaukee Mile because we already had something very close to it with New Hampshire. But yes, Nazareth, I really enjoyed that. I think the trucks, I don't remember if the Bush Series ran there, but man, it was a long time ago. I also remember running there in the old video games, so I really enjoyed it. It's such a unique layout. That would be one of my first picks for a track to come back. I know people have, when they think of old tracks they want to see again, you know, there's, there's always those one, two, or three that pop up in everybody's list. But for me, Nazareth. So now, yeah, some teams would benefit from practice. I get it. But to me, you can't, because then you would give too much of the teams that have more money would have an unfair advantage. And I don't think that would be a good thing. I don't agree with that. So thanks for reminding me about Nazareth. Pikes Peak. Pikes Peak. Yeah, I don't know much about Pikes Peak. It is a famous course, but I don't know. Nazareth is the triangle one. Yep. Concrete one, maybe Milwaukee Mile. I thought Nazareth was concrete, or am I thinking of something else? But I'm not. It's not Milwaukee Mile. Like Milwaukee Mile is definitely not. at all what I was thinking. One of my favorite tracks are short tracks, road courses, and tracks like Charlotte, Homestead, uh, where dirty air isn't as big of an issue. Use multiple grooves. Let's see. At Formula One TV is $9.99 a month, which isn't too bad. Shit, I'll pay $10 a month if I could get good streaming service for NASCAR. Yeah, I'll pay $10 a month. Okay. I really got to get ready to log off. Um, okay, so essentially NASCAR could still have streaming and still coverage on Fox. Yeah, I could live with that. That sounds good. John Public gets the honor of being the last comment. Uh, I love a paid NASCAR streaming service. I'll pay to not watch ads. They could add a library of old races and documentaries. Yeah, yeah. That sounds good to me. Thank you. Have a good night as well. I want to thank everybody for joining the live stream. Um, I appreciate you guys coming on and giving me your thoughts. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys around next time. And yeah, have a good one. Later. I look forward to your comments.